In this video, I'm not going to talk too much about what sign Ceres is in. I think that is more important for you to understand the house that is located in. What Ceres is going to show you in your birth chart, though, is going to show you how you were nurtured as a child, and as a result of your nurturing, how you were brought up, it's going to show you how you now nurture. It also can show you what you need to work on in the future, or what you need to work on in your present life. So if you have Ceres in your first house growing up, it was very difficult for you to express who you really were, like far as your personality. It could be based on the way how you spoke. It could have been based on how you outwardly dressed and how you appeared to the public. It was really suppressed, and you was not able to really show who you really were, your true personality. So it was hard for you to freely express yourself. And it could be because of your parents or your caregiver, that they were so strong and dominating that they didn't allow you to do that. You were not allowed to truly and freely express yourself. As a result, you could have took on other people's personalities, or try to find what's the best personality that would fit you, that people will actually accept. So as your challenge in this life now, as an adult, it's to show people who you really are. You're not being suppressed anymore. There is no one stopping you from you being yourself, from you dressing the way you want to dress, from you speaking the way you want to speak. You don't have to adapt to, I call it a chameleon. You know, you don't have to adapt to different personality styles based on how you feel or you think that other people should treat you. If you don't work on this, your self-esteem can plummet. It'll be so difficult for you to really have your confidence that you needed, because it was suppressed. You were never allowed to do it. Now, if you have Ceres in your second house, in the past, someone could have made you feel that you're not smart enough to take care and value your own possessions. So you couldn't keep your own money. So as a result, your caregiver or your parent kind of took control over it, because they made you feel that you're not smart enough. You couldn't think for yourself. You couldn't hold on to anything that you felt was valuable. On the other hand, it also can mean that when you were growing up as a child, you was always surrounded around material things, and like your value was based on the things that you had, and a lot of material possession, and splurged on you and made sure that you had the best things. And that's how they showed their love to you, by buying you like the best name brand stuff and everything like that. Whereas the other parent could have like not really took care of the money that well at all, but one of your parents, or your caregivers, really splurged on you a lot. Another thing it can mean is that you grew up with not that much money at all. It was very difficult for one or, both of your caregivers, at least one parent usually. It was really difficult for them to take care of you. And the things that you needed, you really couldn't obtain because money was really low and not in abundance. So the way how they show love to you was saying things like, I'm taking care of you. I take care of you. That's how I show my love to you. That's how I care about you. Not so much the physical affection of hugs and, making you feel nurtured that way. They were like, I took care of you, and you should be happy and satisfied with that. So now it's like, if someone else have a better idea on how you should take care of things that are yours, it could be your money, it could be your car, it could be anything. It could even be the way how you feel about yourself, how you value yourself. If someone else feels that you're not as adequate, or you're not as capable, you might fight against that as, I'm not going to let anybody help me. I could do it on my own. And like, you really anal about that. Or you can have the attitude of, allowing someone else to handle it as a result of you not feeling that you can. Now you want your children to have the best, or whoever you care for to have the best, because that's how you show their love. And the more things that you can give them, and the more fancy the item, it's like, okay, this is how much I really love you. Because money was tight, you make sure that this time around you'll really save your money and not squander it. And like, what is a really good example of how like this placement makes you feel like nurturing of yourself? Like, it's like a Netflix and chill kind of moment. It's like you could be in the bed with your covers, your favorite cover, all snugged up, and watching your favorite movies or your favorite TV shows, and just like nurturing yourself that way. Love giving hugs and kisses to, and showing your physical affection to other people as well, especially with animals, and very, very artistic and crafty as well. So if you have Ceres in your third house, it's like as you were growing up, either one or both of your parents, it was like always a lot of busy traveling going on, like local trips, local travel, like always coming in and out the house. You always was going different places with them. They took you to the store, then they took you to the friend house, they took you to the cousin house, they took you, it's like always in and out, in and out, in and out, really busy. And the way how you received your nurturing, it wasn't so much again with the affection and the hugs and the kisses and different things like that. The way how your parents show you, or your caregiver show you how they loved you, is they talked to you. They gave you the way how they talked to you though was like an educational kind of way, like I love you, and like just talking to you and give you advice and educating and teaching you. That's how they showed their love to you. Instead of saying, instead of showing it, they said it. And I know it seems like, okay, well, at least they said it. Yeah, but they said it like in a teacher, like an informal kind of way. Like, I love, I can't even get an example of it, but it was more like the way how you received it was you rather them show that they loved you, more so than, them just talking to you. And if you were like an only kid, it would be more, you rather that you enjoy the talking, but you rather have a little bit more affection. But your parent did make sure, because they was kind of emotionally detached in a way, and they did kind of make sure that you did have, if like, especially if you was an only kid, like they made sure that you did have other kids to play with, like maybe their friends' kids, they took you over there to play. Maybe your cousins, they took you over there to play. Maybe neighborhood kids, that it was okay for you to play with them, because they know you were the only child, and you really wouldn't have anybody to play around with. It also can be that as you were growing up, you felt that you couldn't really express yourself, like you weren't being heard. And then like if you wanted to know what's going on and you asked questions, just being an inquisitive kid, your questions and your interest wasn't really taken that serious. And also with Ceres in the third house, it also can mean that maybe you had a little learning disability, or you struggled in like early education, and math and reading and punctuation. Although you did speak early, like it didn't take a long time for you to speak, but you had difficulties in that. And instead of being able to express your need, you kind of let it go on and pass you by. So now, like what would really benefit you is for you to really understand something and study a lot of things, that you may think that you don't really know about, and you have the knowledge, but it just growing up, you feel that you weren't able to be heard, or if you were to say something, that you wouldn't be heard as you should have. Also, what will help you and what you really thrive on is a lot of communication now, like through telephone, through texting, through emails, just anything like that. That's like constant communication, like that really helps you, and you nurture that way by communicating with other people that way. as well. So if you're one of these people that text a lot or send a lot of emails or really interact on social media, that's how you really show that you're interested in a person as well. Especially if you feel that, I'm just going to call on this person to see how they're doing. You probably wonder like, well, nobody calls me to see how I'm doing. Why, that came from your childhood. But, you might call people the way how you nurture. Like, I'm just calling to see how you doing. Or you might text them like, are you okay? And just checking in with you. You do that because you really didn't receive that, and you feel that, in order to show and nurture a person, that you really need to do different things like that. So it could be any of those things that I mentioned, or all of them. Now, Ceres in the fourth house, this is your home life for sure, and it's definitely a mother figure. If you were the only child, it could have been that the mom or the female figure was like what they call a helicopter mom, like smothering you a lot and being too overprotective. If you were like a middle child, or you had other siblings, or other young people in the house, you felt like kind of like mom or the caregiver is more concerned about your brothers and your sisters or your siblings, whoever they might be, than they are you. So a lot of times you felt that, okay, well, they're not giving me that kind of love, so let me just, I'm gonna start taking care of myself. And I just, and then that's just how it have to be. It also could mean, with Ceres in your fourth house, that because of whatever your mom or your caregiver was going through, that it can also mean that you moved a lot around. You were not staying in the same home. You relocated a lot of different times with your mom or your caregiver. So now you feel like, by being in a home, no matter where it is and what type of home it is, the value of the home is not important. Like the financial value, it don't have to be inexpensive. It could just be a home like you feel that is your refuge. Like you can be there and get away from everybody else in the world, and you can kind of stay there alone and nurture yourself that way. And as a result of that, when you have your own children, you make sure that you really show them love and nurturing, especially anything in a home. You cook it for them, you're cleaning for them. You want to build up your home as much as possible and make your children or anyone that's close to you feel really like a quote unquote at home. You really like giving emotional support to others too. You nurture that way as well. One of the things that you can do that can help you, if you having these like nostalgic feelings or memories that just kind of just pop up, and if it's hard to cry, try to cry. Try to cry to like cleanse. Don't just cry to be sad. Try to purge and cleanse these feelings so that you can kind of get them out, because you have these suppressed feelings. If you have it in your fourth house, you can have these suppressed feelings, or you can just be too nurturing to a person, and then if they kind of reject it, or you feel that they are saying that they don't need it from you, you can feel again rejected like you felt in the past. But you will be a really good support person. You definitely, if anybody need any kind of emotional support, anybody need a shoulder to cry on, you're definitely that person now. You have no problems with, letting them cry to you all night on the phone, or even come in and visiting you in the home and making them feel as comfortable as much as possible. Now, if you have Ceres in your fifth house, what could have happened in your life? You could have had a really loud, bold kind of performer kind of parent or caregiver. So much so that it overshadowed you. You were the kid and they were the adult, but it was like not really about you at all. It was about them and their needs and their wants and how they are, and it's about them. It's very self-centered, and you felt like, okay, do I exist? Am I your kid, or am I a part of the show, your show? It could have been on the flip side of that. It could also be that they gave you too much attention, so much so that you felt kind of uncomfortable because they put you on this pedestal and gave you too much. So it could be either or. If you have Ceres in your fifth house, it can be not enough, where you didn't feel like you was an individual, or it could be way too much, where it was like overbearing. So now, like, the way how you feel nurtured now is if someone actually is having a conversation with you, they're actually giving you eye contact, they're looking at you, they're genuinely listening to you and caring about what you have to say, caring about your opinion. And if they give you a compliment, it's not like, something that they know you want to hear. It's something that they really feel that is a really you feel that is really, if it's genuine, then you really respect them. You can also find nurturing any kind of games or sports or anything that's like fun. Also, like even in performing, you can be a performer if you anything creative like that. Anything creative like that, especially if it's something that you don't feel that you have to fit in order to be happy or in order to feel nurtured. And if you have children or you care for children, like you really like to play with your children and you like to have fun with your children and you really try to show them, give them the special attention, the authentic attention that, you are important to me. I want to know who you are and I want you to express your own individuality. And how you nurture, if it's not your children, how you nurture other people or nurture your relationships with friends or family or even with a date or a husband, a wife or whatever. Like you show your generosity, you really give them attention. You try to help them to see that they are important, they are individual. Try to build up their confidence and their self-esteem. You try to make them laugh. Anything that is you can have kind of a fun with and making them feel special and important as well. So, and that's how you show you're nurturing if you have Ceres in the fifth house. Now you have Ceres in the sixth house. You was the type that the way how you were nurtured, the parents was kind of absent, but at the same time, they told you to do things and expected you to do them. Like they'll tell you to do a thing, and then you just from that point on, you just got to know how to do it. They didn't train you in it. They didn't check in with you, and like it was like you felt like you had to kind of raise yourself, and then at the same time, they felt that you didn't do it right. And you could have had either one or both parents or the caretaker, very hard workers. It's not that they meant to not, pay too much attention to you. They were just always working and providing. If that was not the case, if you didn't have parents or caretakers like that, it was like they needed to be that way. They was like complete opposite of that. Like they weren't taking care of business. They weren't working. It was like a household that, Child Protective Services could have came in and they wanted you to do it. Like, you take care of, you go cook and you go clean. Because we're not going to do it. We don't got time for that, So it could have been a situation like that. So the way how you kind of nurture yourself or feel you should be nurtured, like you have a routine, the best possible way how you can create a routine. Like you really would rather you feel that you need to take care of yourself by a daily routine. You're eating the right kind of foods and drinking the water and exercising and taking care of your health and stuff like that. And it's on a daily basis. But you sometimes though be careful of being too overly critical of yourself if these things are not in place, but you feel that that's how it should be. If you have children, it also can mean that you making sure that your children's health, like you always take them to the to the doctor and get their shots and making sure they're eating right and making sure they have their daily routine, because this is how you show that you nurture them and how you love them. It's just how you show their love by taking care of them, because it could have been in your past that your parents or your caregiver were like micromanaging everything you do and finding fault on every little thing you do. So you kind of could do that. Like you could kind of watch out for not doing that with your children, because nobody's perfect, and we're not always going to be able to expect and get perfection. You also might either do this for your children or other people. Like you do things, you have like chores and you have a list, and you like you love a list and you love things to be organized, and you do teach your children, or you expect, if it's an adult, you expect them to be orderly and neat and do this on a day-to-day basis. However, it's like you may have a tendency, if they're not doing it right, you want to do it because you know the right way it's supposed to be done. So you might clean up their room, or you might you keep leaving your shoes here, or pick up your clothes, and they pick it up for you because you can't do it right. So, but what you're trying to do, if you have Ceres in your sixth house, is that you're just trying to create a balance, and you're trying to make sure things are in place and on routine. Because if you show in that structure and that balance and the healthy eating and the chores and teaching like the child, or expecting that from a partner or whatever, then things will go much more smoothly, and things will not be willy-nilly, because you cannot deal with things being chaotic and willy-nilly. And you have Ceres in the seventh house, maybe you grew up with parents that they met really young, like really young, maybe teenage parents, or and then they broke up really early, or that you could have had a situation where they never even got together at all. They were young, and you came to be, and just one of them, took care of you, and you really didn't know the other parent. And if they did stay, it was a lot of arguments, a lot of conflict. It could have been also with this placement that, they were really meticulous about your appearance. Not so much in make sure you're neat and clean and groomed, but, kind of judgy about how your haircut was, or how your clothes were. It seemed like it was a lot of vanity and the way how you should look and appear. Or it could have been when, you and your siblings, or not, even if you didn't have siblings, if you were the only child, that you always felt that you were blamed for things, that or if your siblings did something that you were kind of the one, you felt you were the one that was blamed for everything, but it was like in such an unfair kind of way. So now the way how you feel nurtured is for you not to be judged very quickly. And if someone judges you very quickly without knowing the facts, like, you will really get upset with them, and it would be a problem. You feel that, all the facts should be looked at first before anything happens and anything is determined. You also might be a person that, if you did decide to say, okay, I'm into my parents heavily, it's for me. And it's not because you think I should look this way. It's for me. You feel much more better about yourself, how you look and dress and behave, because you feel that is the thing that you want to express. Even in an artistic kind of way, in a creative way, anything like that. If you have Ceres in the seventh house, yeah, that's how you're going to feel. It's going to be for you, and it's going to be in a just, balanced kind of way. Another way you can feel nurtured, if you are in a relationship with someone and they also likes that you are into beautifying yourself or making yourself handsome, or your appearance in a way that you're doing it, and they support you being creative, and they support you being artistic. You really will appreciate that and feel nurtured from that other person, especially in a long-term relationship. It also might be something that you need to look out for if you have Ceres in the seventh house, is to look at your diet and make sure that it's balanced, and make sure that you don't overindulge in too much sweets, and whether it be candy, cookies, like a lot of snack food or junk food. And sometimes you might have a tendency to do this if you're not paying attention. Also, if you do have children and you're taking care of someone, you do teach them to be the best they can be. That you do take pride in their appearance, and you teach them to do that as well. But you remember this innate feeling that you're not controlling. You're not controlling it. You're allowing them to be individual with it. But you will talk. You will make sure that your children are pleasing physically as you can. And because of the way you were nurtured, it could also be that you a little too laxed with your parenting style. You kind of let them get your children or even other people that you care about. You might let them get away with too many things, things that they shouldn't get away with, or people say that you really should be more strict about. You might be a little bit passive because you're showing your love and you're trying your best to be balanced, but sometimes is a little bit more on the passive side. If you have more than one child, or if you are around children, and if you work with a lot of children, or you have more than one child or whatever, it's also a possibility that you will definitely want them to be heard and feel that they should be heard, and you won't treat one any different than the other. You would try to treat them all equally, and that will be a big, humongous emphasis for you. If you have Ceres in the 8th house, it could have been that your mom or your caregiver or both your parents, it was very an intense, strong household, the way how you grew up. It wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't calm. And it could have been because one of your parents went through a traumatic event. Something happened, but you're not exactly sure what happened. You don't really remember, but you knew that it was like volatile, and it was not peaceful as it should have been. And you really didn't feel safe or protected. So you had to not only protect yourself, you also had to be more protective, and you felt you had to be more protective of your parent or caregiver as well. Or it could have been a situation where there was no traumatic event that happened in your childhood, and the emotions of your parent or caregivers was so intense that it kind of overlooked your feelings, and not it was so involved in what they were going through that your feelings were ignored, and you didn't get a chance to really feel them for yourself, or for your parent or a caretaker to empathize with your needs, because they were so focused on their needs. And as a result of that, it could have you could have learned how to suppress your feelings, your real feelings. It also can mean that you really like your own solitude, your own space, to deal with your feelings, because you're trying to figure them out since they have been suppressed. So yeah, now as an adult, you need your own space and your own solitude, and so much so that during that time you don't want to deal with anybody's issues. You don't want to deal with anybody's emotional, intense problems. Another thing with Ceres in the 8th house, you can also be a type that would nurture yourself through sex, or any kind of physical, not only sex, but it can be just people touching you and holding you and showing you physical affection, and you will feel nurtured that way, or you would nurture that way. But a lot of sexual activity, and trying your best to find that place and to be free and to explore. You really want to explore and figure out your psychological reasoning behind why this is this way and why you're that way, and you can let it come out through sex. But again, it may not, because you suppressed them and even through your interest in sex and feeling that the sex can, you know, be a factor to help you get out of it, you'll fall back with the sexual, I guess, ideas or the sexual fantasies that you like to embark on. Now, the way how you nurture either your children or people that's really close to you, a bully. You'll be one of those parents who, like they say, I'll beat up a kid. You know, like you will not tolerate your kid or anyone who you feel that needs to be protected by you or needs to have some kind of protection. You will not allow them to get bullied at all. Like bullying would not happen. Although, by you trying to teach them and protect them, you'll kind of almost could be like the bully yourself. I akin this to, you know, some terrible dog owners or dog owners, I guess, and they try to make a puppy tough because, you know, you have to be tough, you know, and they train it that way, but they're not doing it to make a person tough. You're not doing that with your children. If you have Ceres in the 8th house to be mean, you just feel that they need to be able to take care of themselves in that way, and you have to show them this is the best way for you to take care of yourself out there. Because it could be a thing where if life hits them hard and they don't know how to handle it, you will feel that you didn't do your job because, you know, life can be difficult and, you know, you have to have this transformation type of experience. Like even if life tore you down, you have to be able to rise up from the ashes into a phoenix, into a new being. So sometimes you can nurture in a way where it might seem a little bit too harsh, but it's the way how you show your love. With Ceres in the 9th house, you could have grown up with people, your parents or caregivers that was not in a home that much. They traveled a lot, either because of work or religious retreats and different things like that. So they weren't really present in the home that much. Or if they did not travel and they were in the home, you never really felt that there was a distance. It was some kind of boundary. It was something there that was blocking you being close to them. So, and if you had two parents, it could have been a situation where one of them gave you too much freedom and the other one was like really, really strict. But for the most part, you felt, of course, more affinity to the one that gave you more freedom as you were growing up. Also, because of this freedom that you received and because of this, one treating you too free, one being restrictive, it could have been, you could have put yourself more in more dangerous situations than you would have if you had that more of a balance. Also, in that placement could mean that you know, you grew up around or you went to different places where it was different races, different cultures. It could have been like a religious organization that you were involved when it was all different kind of people. It wasn't like this the same people, even if it was for the same religious sect. It was for you was around a lot of different type of people, different cultures, different backgrounds as well. The way how you nurture now is like you show people you know, you're the person that could cheer people up. You're the person that tells them, you know, the glass is half full. You're the person that you really don't want them to feel like gloom and doom. You know, you want them to see the brighter side of life. You want them to have that freedom because you learned that not being too strict, shutting you down, and not allowing you to have too much freedom is like that balance, but more in a spiritual kind of way, and more of a creative kind of way. to help you, to help that person, you nurture that person to be more freer and more optimistic, and to create their own way of thinking and their own philosophies about life. It also can show how the way you nurture is like you're like a spiritual teacher, or a spiritual, I wouldn't say leader, but you, if someone asks a question about religion or spirituality, you're like a go-to person to go to as well, and you nurture that way by trying to not judge them on what they believe, but teaching them and showing them other world views on how they should look at a thing and how important it is to look at it in a grander scale. Another thing that could have happened as a result of you having Ceres in your ninth house is that it was only kind of the family's religion was and whatever religion that was the only religion that was really accepted in your house, in your home, or the only belief system that was really accepted and that you had to follow. And as you grew up, it was like it's very difficult for you to go into your own spirituality and to learn other ways. And if you do, you don't want your family to know, because you feel that your family will judge you and not accept you because they want you to follow their particular religious views. And so, a way how you nurture yourself now is it helps you when you could broaden your horizons, when you follow things in an ethical, moral kind of way. If you have children or you are a teacher or responsible for children, you will want that to be present as well. You will want them to have high morals and ethics, and respect other people's religious views and ethics, because that's how you show that you care and you nurture other people, or at least your children or younger people around you. Another way you might nurture is when people come to you and they have problems, you really immediately show them how high or how full the glass is, and to have fun and make them laugh and make them feel good, because that's a way how you can show that you love them. And then it also can happen with your children, like you believe that since you taught your children with faith and ethics and high morals and how to do the right thing and all that kind of stuff, that you have faith in your children. And now that they are adults, that you feel that they really gonna do what they're supposed to do because you taught them that. Also, you've played around with your children too. That's a possibility. Like if you have young children, you like playing around with them and you enjoy their company a lot. Yeah, Ceres in your 10th house. This is the work house. So you could have very well been with a parent or parents or caregiver who were workaholics. Work, 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 work. And you had to take on a role of parenting yourself. If you had younger siblings, you had to take that role on as well. Actually, it was actually expected of you from your workaholic parents, or parents who were really into their careers and not so much into nurturing you. It could have been also that you felt the emotional neglect because your parent or caregiver shows you how they loved you by teaching you how to be independent, how to work for yourself, how to build and work on goals and achieve goals. And the more goals that you achieve, the more happier they seem to be with you. So as a result, now it could be a possibility that you're a very high achiever, you're very goal oriented, you really like doing things for yourself. Even if you need help, it's going to be very difficult for you to ask for help from other people. And you can almost, you feel that the best way to love yourself or to love others is to constantly work yourself now. to constantly build and set goals for yourself and achieve them. And if you're doing that and teaching that to your children, that's your way of showing them that you love them. You can be so strict, though, with showing them to be super independent and working and working and working, that naturally you will not be able to show that emotional piece, and your kids can feel neglected like you felt when you were younger as well. And it also could be a possibility with Ceres in the 10th house that the way how you nurture other people is if you show them how to take care of themselves. Instead of doing things for them, you rather teach them and show them how they can do things for themselves. Because you feel that if you can teach them that and you can show them how to be independent, that they'll be okay, and they don't have to worry about not having enough, what they need, and having enough money and all that kind of stuff. But of course, you have Ceres in the 10th house, you need to balance that out and show more love and affection to yourself, your children, and the people you care about. Have Ceres in the 11th house, you could have grown up in a situation where your parent or caregiver, it was very chaotic and very unpredictable. You didn't know how their mood was. You come home or you go around them, they might be in a good mood 1 minute, and then the next minute they might be in a totally different mood, and you never knew what you would expect from them. Because you weren't really shown this example of being calm and balanced and different things like that, or possibly because your caregiver was going through their thing, that you really never felt as really special and individual yourself. It could also mean that your parents was never okay with your friends. Like, they chose your friends for you, and as a result of that, it's like, okay, you didn't feel that you had it in you to be able to please them, and you never knew which friend they will accept. Because on the one hand, they say that they want you to have this type of friend because they have this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. And then you bring that person, and then they change their views altogether. So you was like, okay, I'm going to present this person to you. Is this person okay for you to like or not like? Your nurturing can come from, like, if you felt that you didn't have a mother or a father, your people that's around you, like, you will be a person who will accept another person being your mom. Like, okay, I didn't have a mom, but you could be my mom, like, you can accept that. Or I didn't have a dad and you're like my dad figure. And, it could be non-relative. It could be just people, that you grew up around, people you work around, different things like that. Also, Ceres in the 11th house can be that you felt more like a friend or buddy or pal or associate of your parent. It wasn't like a parent and a subordinate child. You felt that you guys were more friends than anything else. And because you weren't really able to show your own individual self, you feel that being around a group of people who have the same interests as yours, that's how you can show your own individuality. Say you're interested in reading. By yourself, it feels that, is awkward, is odd, but if you find a group of people that you could join a club now who shares that same interest, you feel much more nurtured and much more cared about. It also could mean that if you have children, that it's not so much that you're emotionally detached, like you don't care about your children, but you don't really spend too much time with them and have fun with them. But you do allow other people, so you allow them to do the Boys and Girls Club and Boy Scouts, and you allow other friends or family, for them to go over and have fun. You may not be the one that's going to participate in the fun with them, but you will make sure that they have fun, and because they may have felt that, they should be free and they should be amongst, all these different type of people. And although now that if you have your own children or you work with children, you know that you have that role as their parent. However, you apt to want to be more a friend or a buddy or a pal. Like, you will get upset if they don't feel that you are also their friend as well as their parent. If your children or the children that you work with, or that's if they feel that you're just being too strict or you're being too parent like, and they can't see you as a friend, or you don't feel they can see you as a friend, that really could upset you. You also may be a type of parent, the way you nurture is for them to be as independent as they possibly can, and to teach them independence of being themselves and being their own individual. It's so funny too, because if you have a child, you can be, if they start crying, or they're getting they need your emotional attention, or you need to respond to them in an emotional way, you can, like, okay, I can't do this. Like, here, take, you give it to your partner, the dad or the mom, like, here, you do this. You like, I'll deal with them after all this crying and emotional stuff is gone. Yeah, Ceres in your 12th house. Now, in this placement, you could have grown up with only one parent, and you had no idea who the other parent was. Well, you knew who they were. Like, they say, okay, that's your mom and that's your dad, but you didn't know them. You knew that they were your parent, but you didn't grow up with them. Or you just didn't grow up with the parent at all. You just grew up with one parent. And even if they stayed in your life, you still didn't really know who they really were. Um, it wasn't apparent who they really were. And so you really never really got to know the other parent as you would have, even if they're still in your life, you really didn't know who they were. It could also mean, if you have Ceres in the 12th house, that one of your parents was always trying to escape from their realities, escape from their problems, through always going out, or maybe actually with some drug or alcohol issues, anything that can escape their reality. And that's another reason why it was hard for you to get to know them, because you really didn't know the real them, because they weren't present and wasn't apparent and clear again. It also could mean, if you have Ceres in your 12th house, if you grew up around other children or siblings or something like that, that you didn't always feel safe, or they bullied you, and you always had to look to your parent, one of your parents, to, like, kind of save you, because it's like, okay, you don't know that this person is really being mean to me, they're really bullying me, and I need help, because I really, they may have been older than you or what have you, and you needed help from your other parent quite a lot, from your sibling, like a protection type of thing. Also, if you have a Ceres in your 12th house growing up, you played alone a lot. Um, a lot of imaginary friends, even spiritual friends, and you could have actually had them. But, and then you may have created stories and of objects. It created this imaginary story, or your dolls, or your whatever you played with, whatever toys you played with, they had characters, and you had, like, these whole stories, and built the whole cities. Very creative with that, because you were alone and you felt nurtured that way. What you really wanted, and probably still want now, is just for, like, unconditional love. You just love me for me, regardless. Another way how you can look at it, is that if it wasn't unconditional, it's like, love the real me, like, get to know who I am. You feel very nurtured around music and anything artistic, anything creative, anything that even people might find different or strange in your taste in music and art and stuff like that. Now, naturally, the way how you will nurture your children is to show them all, and because you remember all what you didn't receive, and you're so empathetic, and you're quick to understand the needs of others, not only with your children, but also with people who are poor, people who have been in prison, homeless, people who have psychiatric needs, um, ex offenders, or people who are actually in prison. Like, You will always want to help them, and you will always be the first one to offer like a charitable hand. Yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I just wanted to go through all of the houses to give you guys some of the things that it can be. Remember, the houses, they consist of so many things. I just gave you a few. Try to be as give you as much as variety as I possibly can. And also, as I always say, you can research, make sure you research and you study on your own, especially if it's in your house. And don't just only go by what I say, just also kind of check facts and fact check and learn as much as you possibly can. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.